All right. Hello, everyone. So we're back again with another story. Says here, rich dad executed wife and daughter amid 5 million mansion eviction. So he was trying to get his wife and his daughter out of his mansion. They, they're feeding off this man, getting all the money.
Years of deception, a last-minute change in a life insurance policy, and a mysterious note. These are just some of the new details.
Look at her face. How much work did she have done? That looks like a whole mask.
Revealed in the double murder of a New England mother and her
My God, it looks worse here.
daughter.
And when it all came crumbling down and the family was about to be evicted, he took matters into his own hands.
The town of Dover, Massachusetts is one of the most prestigious and expensive in the country. That's
Really?
where the Kamal family lived,
Dover,
in a
Massachusetts.
21-bedroom mansion, complete with an at-home spa and even a movie theater. The patriarch of the family, Rakesh, or Rick
Why did she say patriarch like that?
Kamal, worked for Harvard University, and his wife Tina was a graduate of the same school. Their 18-year-old daughter Ariana had attended the private school Milton Academy, and her tuition was already paid at Middlebury College in Vermont. The family of three lived a picture-perfect life of opulence, but everything is not what it seems.
So on the outside,
The pictures are blurry.
folks would have killed to have this life. And ultimately, it
I
was
wouldn't.
Rakesh who ended up killing his wife. And
Like, there's no way of married a woman just walking around looking like a whole ghost face killer, man. I just can't. I feel like I'm being haunted every time I wake up next to something like this.
daughter.
That picture-perfect image was shattered on December 28, 2023, when a mysterious note was discovered inside the Kamal's massive home. That same day, the Kamals were supposed to turn over the keys to their mansion because, as it turned out, they were getting evicted. The keys were on the counter, but so too was a typed-up note on a white sheet of paper. It read, "Please note, before entering, call the police to first check 3 bedrooms on the second floor. Each room will be marked by a white sheet of paper." True to its word, there were white sheets of paper marking several rooms on the second floor, each with a sinister scene inside. Ariana and Tina were both found in upstairs bedrooms, murdered by way of a gunshot wound. Rakesh was found in the bathtub, having turned an unregistered Glock pistol on himself before anyone could collect the keys to his home.
Being forcibly
Why was he being evicted?
removed from one's home is incredibly embarrassing.
Yeah, but why would you take out your wife and daughter?
And puts a lot of pressure
The size of this dude's mouth is just like, it creeps me the hell out.
on families. And I think that was just too much for him to handle. And mentally, that's what broke him.
Police later said the 20,000 square foot mansion was immaculate and meticulously maintained. Everything seemed in place, except for the gruesome crime scene on the second floor. The details of the murders shocked the upper-class community where it took place, but upon investigation, there were warning signs. The family had filed for bankruptcy months before the murders, and Rakesh had even borrowed money from his mother and brother. Then, just days before the murders, Rakesh altered his wife's $1.25 million life insurance policy. Before that, Rakesh himself was the beneficiary if Tina died. And after that, their daughter Ariana was set to receive the money. But just 4 days before the murders, Rakesh changed the policy. The new beneficiary was set to be his own brother.
Well, it's certainly a red
Listen, I appreciate the man prioritizing paying back debts. But that's crazy.
flag when someone changes the beneficiary of a life insurance from a spouse and a child to a sibling.
It was this same brother, Manoj Kamal, who had loaned Rakesh thousands of dollars
Yeah,
and
he's
would
paying back
later
a
be
debt.
the one to find the bodies of his family inside the home. And with that discovery, Rakesh's appearance of wealth and affluence came crashing down.
My biggest takeaway from this sad tragedy is that
Not the
Rakesh and
mouth
his
again.
family, they were really living a double life. He apparently was
Like how do you even sit comfortably with that kind of teeth in your mouth? Like you gotta weigh like 10 pounds. Just Jesus Christ.
hiding his financial misfortune from his wife and daughter. And when it all came crumbling down and the family was about to be evicted, he took matters into his own hands, killing them and then killing himself.
That was just unnecessary, man. Like you could take a downgrade. You can take a downgrade. You don't need a whole mansion for 3 people? Like, are you serious? Is status and image that much important to you? I mean, I guess it got your wife looking crazy, but like you don't need that. You could retire, you do whatever. Live your life. Your daughter's going off to college. Live your life, man. Take your cement face wife out, reinvigorate your marriage. You don't need to do this.
That's Nima Rahmani, a trial lawyer and former federal prosecutor.
Well, this is a tale as old as time, people lying about their wealth. And unfortunately, it's been even worse with the explosion of social media when people are trying to flaunt what they don't necessarily have. And eventually, it ends up catching up with people. And that's what happened here when it came to the failed business, the failed bankruptcy, and ultimately the eviction from their mansion.
Rakesh's facade of living the American dream began years.
He was like a professor or something. There's no way he made enough money to freaking have a mansion.
Years before he pulled the trigger. At first, it was withholding information, like Rakesh's job. Between 2015 and 2019, he worked as the Chief Technology Officer at Harvard University. But when that changed, he didn't tell his family. The father actually worked for Harvard, but some of the reports I've seen say that Tina believed he still worked there as recently as last year. But apparently, he stopped working there in 2019. So there were some discrepancies between the husband.
So his income went down, but the spending was still up. It was still up. His daughter and his wife was probably still spending because they didn't know, and he was too ashamed to say it. His pride brought him to this point, man. That's a hell of a demon you got there. No wonder it's one of the 7 deadly sins.
Husband and wife in this case not entirely telling each other what was going on. What are your thoughts about things like that? Keeping things from the spouse, especially when their bank accounts are joined.
There's certainly evidence that the spouses were potentially keeping information from one another. Rakesh didn't tell his wife that he was no longer working at Harvard, at least according to the reports. And even Tina said she was educated at Harvard, but when Harvard was contacted, they had no record of her being there. And Rakesh maybe embellished some of his academic accomplishments but when they were executive education courses and not necessarily university degrees. So if you dig a little bit deeper, maybe they were hiding information from one another as well as misleading the public.
So she lied to him when he married her. She created a whole image when he married her, lied to him, told him she's a Harvard grad, and he thought he was going to have this big family that's going to create the image that is going to prop up his ego. Damn.
Public, but without going through their education records, it's going to be tough to say who was lying to whom and about what.
Stories like these are really tough to cover, and the misleading continued when Rakesh began to fall behind on mortgage payments of his massive home. The developers who worked with Rakesh spoke to the Boston Globe, saying he made up wild excuses about why the checks were late. For example, Rakesh once told them he was in India after Tina's father had a heart attack and died. But as it turns out, Tina's father is still alive. Throughout all this, Rakesh didn't let on about just how dire his financial trouble was. In the months
he definitely looks like an IT guy. Like, god damn, I'm pretty sure Bill Gates took a photo exactly like this, just without all of the goddamn melanin in his skin.
Before his death, Rakesh was in talks to purchase a $16.5 million home in Tennessee. He
What?
and Tina had even toured
Why
it.
would you do this?
And I think another aspect of this case is that there may not have been an open line of communication between the father, the husband, and the wife and the daughter. It seems, at least according to some of the things I've read, that the wife and mother here wasn't completely aware of what was going on. They actually were touring other mansions to potentially buy. So do you think there are issues in communication here
so
that the father
they
may have
wanted to
covered up some
upgrade to a new
things?
mansion?
According to law enforcement sources, Tina, the wife, didn't really know the dire financial straits the family was in. And I don't think the daughter, Ariana, knew as well. And I think ultimately that was one of the points of tension. But the wife reportedly did say that she was willing to end it all because of the family's financial struggles.
Oh,
yeah, I know what you're
shit.
referring to. She made some sort of comment where she wanted to drive the family car off a cliff because of their financial issues. Do you think that could have been
So both the mother and the father are crazy people obsessed with image. That's wild, man.
red flag that something was going on in the family?
It certainly could have been. Now, financial problems are one of the biggest stresses on a family.
Which side of her face is normal? Because I think she can express something with this eye, maybe, or is this one just stuck like that? And this is her normal eye. Because like when they get that Botox stuff, like their facial expressions just it doesn't move naturally. So she get locked into a natural expression maybe on this side, and then an unnatural one on this side. Because this she's trying to smile, but then this part of her face is like nah.
Family. It's actually one of the biggest causes of divorce. So it's unclear whether Tina knew the extent of the family's financial problems. Maybe she knew that they were struggling, but to the extent that she was touring a mansion in Tennessee and buying furniture for that anticipated purchase, it's not quite clear whether she knew they were about to be evicted from.
Wow. Every single one of them looked like they have a fake smile. The daughter's smile looked fake. Like it looks like Jesus Christ. It looked like that Mona Lisa smile on her face. Doesn't match the rest of her face. Like no smiling in the eyes. This one, yeah, the face. Maybe her smile looks the most natural. I think because it's in her eyes. Like you can see her smiling with the eyes, but like her face is just scary. Him, yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, look at that dead eyes, man.
From their Massachusetts mansion.
One person who definitely knew about the financial issues was
The brother.
Kamal, Rakesh's brother. If we're talking about his brother, new details revealed in this case show that he loaned his brother a substantial amount of money. It was in $5,000 increments over time, but it amassed to, I think, $150,000. Again, does this show that there's something going wrong? He lives in this 21-room mansion, but is asking his brother to borrow money.
Reportedly, Rakesh owed his brother $500,000, and that was paid over the course of several months. That is certainly a red flag. And the brother has spoken up and said that Rakesh asked him not to say anything to Tina. So that would certainly be a red flag.
Damn,
if
man.
a husband is
It's like, I don't know. I would want to stop my own brother from doing something like that. If I know that he's doing all this because of his pride and stuff like that, I mean, I'll lend him the money, but I'll intervene, man. I can't be losing my family for some dumb shit.
concealing a loan of that amount from his wife.
December 23rd was the last time Minaj saw his brother. According to the police report obtained by the Boston Globe, Rakesh asked Minaj to, quote, give him life insurance beneficiary information, which Minaj thought was unusual. The next day, on December 24th, Rakesh sent a fax to the life insurance company requesting that Minaj become the beneficiary to Tina's policy. And if we're talking about red flags, one that really stood out to me is the change in the life insurance policy. This is just a couple of days before the murder happens that the father, the husband, changes the insurance policy for the beneficiary for his wife if and when she dies. So do you think that's something that the insurance company should have had a alarm bell going off for, or the family who was hearing about this? What do you make of all of that?
Well, it's certainly a red flag when someone changes the beneficiary of a life insurance from a spouse and a child to a sibling. And that's really what happened here. And it wasn't even Tina's own sibling, it was her brother-in-law. And this change was faxed shortly before the murder-suicide. Now, Tina's brother, who is the executor of her estate, is challenging this change because we have a $1.25 million life insurance policy that's going to be paid to Rakesh's family, maybe, and is challenging that. Now, if that challenge is successful,
I mean, I don't know, why would you challenge that? Like, they're married and they owed a debt to the brother, to his brother, not her brother. Because it didn't seem like she lied about her education. I doubt she had a job. So the life insurance and all that stuff, that's coming from him anyways.
First the lawyers are paid, and then the costs of the estate and probate are paid, and any creditors are paid. But if there's money left over, it would actually go to neither of the siblings if the challenge is successful. It would go to Tina's parents in India because she apparently died without a will.
Oh, that's very interesting. I'm glad that you kind of laid that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it defaults to your parents. That makes sense though.
Out because we had seen reports that there was an ongoing dispute between both of the families who was going to get the money, but it's interesting that you pointed out her family would then get it. As far as the civil side of things, when they're going head to head about this, who becomes the beneficiary, what do you think that would really look like?
The biggest issue, if the life insurance benefits are to be paid, is was Tina's signature valid when that change was made? Tina's brother is reportedly saying that it wasn't. There was a witness, and I think he or she is going to be critical in determining whether
her signature definitely wasn't valid,
as well as a potential.
Because he would have to tell her something for why he's changing it and for her to sign it.
Handwriting expert. If it was valid, and if the benefits were to be paid, then they're going to be paid to Rakesh's brother. But if it was an invalid signature, then we could potentially see the money going to the estate and Tina's family.
Just days after the life...
To the state and a family? Why is the state getting money?
Insurance policy change. Rakesh texted his brother on December 26th asking to cancel plans. Rakesh said that Tina and Ariana had an allergic reaction to some shrimp they ate and were in the hospital. At the same time, Ariana's boyfriend, Owen, was on the way to the family's home to visit for the holidays. Rakesh texted him asking Owen to push off the trip. He later told him that Ariana couldn't text him herself because at the time she left her phone at home. It was this same day that Rakesh was on the phone about the upcoming foreclosure of his home. He made a comment about being able to purchase the house back come 2024. Then, on December 28th, Manoj went to his brother's home, concerned that he hadn't heard from Rakesh in a while. When Manoj entered the mansion, the alarm was blaring, but it was something else that caught his attention. If we're talking about new details in this case, the one that really stood out is the note that the brother found when he entered the home. Printed up, typed up, and kind of instructed whoever was reading the note that they should contact police. And what he finds is a double murder and a suicide. Have you ever heard of anything like this? These white pieces of paper left around the mansion?
I've covered a lot of cases over the past 20 plus years, and I haven't seen multiple suicide notes like this spread out all over the home. One apparently for each of the victims in this case. That's not something that you typically see, but it appears to be the case here.
According to the Boston Globe, the Kamal family purchased the $4 million mansion in February 2019.
Okay, so maybe that's just her normal smile. It just doesn't look real.
Mostly borrowed money for the purchase. The terms of the purchase meant there was a 2-year deadline to pay back Wilsondale Associates. That's the company that built the mansion. So by February 2021, they owed $3.8 million. The following September, the family was still living in the home when Tina filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. She listed liabilities between $1 and $10 million, but the case...
So she knew they were out of money because they also talked about her saying she was gonna, you know what I mean, she was gonna drive off a cliff or something like that.
Was dismissed a month later. A full year before the murders in December 2022, the Kamals were ordered to leave the home. They didn't, and the eviction proceedings continued into May 2023. By December of last year, foreclosure was imminent, and Rakesh agreed his family would turn over the keys on December 28, 2023, the same day as the murders. And we've talked a lot about the warning signs as far as the bankruptcy or the issues financially. But the big thing about this exact day is that the keys for the home were set to be collected. That was the day of the foreclosure, eviction. They had to leave the home. Do you think that was the final straw, so to speak?
Ooh.
That really put pressure on Rakesh and the family. Obviously, the business had failed. The bankruptcy had been unsuccessful. He owed significant sums of money to his family and to his business. But being forcibly removed from one's home is incredibly embarrassing and puts a lot of pressure on families. And I think that was just too much for him to handle. And mentally, that's what broke him.
When investigators got to the scene, they found the home in immaculate condition. In the backyard pond, they later discovered cell phones, laptops, iPads, and a surveillance DVR box that had been thrown into the water. That, combined with the details of the note, show Rakesh planned for the murders. Obviously, the person who carried out the crime has committed suicide, so he's no longer around. But let's say that he was, and there was a way to prosecute this case. Would it show premeditation that he wrote this out, that he knew someone was going to come in and collect the keys, and they would find his wife and daughter murdered if he had still...
If someone assisted or after...
over. So clearly, someone is doing their job, going in and finding out more information about...
It's probably wrapped up by now. I think the only remaining
lovely, happy family. This is something no one expected.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. But yeah, man, that's a wild story. It's like he was so considerate. He had the place cleaned and all this stuff. The image, man, image was so important to him because he was keeping up that image up until the end. Writing out a note and everything for everybody, making sure he pays back his brother after his... It's just the amount of crazy. It's just like the exacting and reason way he went about being insane just boggles my mind. But hey, that's the world we live in. Until next time.